All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Green White Checker TV, where tonight we have the Area 51 Super Speedway Truck Series here tonight at Daytona International Speedway. This is race number 6 of 8 of the regular season before we get into the 4-race playoff. I'll be coming in tonight, Gal Brooks, covering for Boomer Logan because he's doing some real racing at this exact track soon. So, Boomer, I hope you have a lot of fun. I hope the brake lights work. I hope the engine works. And it's a BMW, so turn signals probably won't work, but I hope you have a blast, man. And joining me tonight is Mr. Brandon Briggs. And Brandon, I'm going to be relying on you a lot tonight because you and Boomer have been running the show over here on the truck side of things. So you've kind of seen the names and the faces to watch, and also probably what you've seen out of the trucks compared to the Gen 4 cars. But I'd say come to a very familiar track here at Daytona, and should be a lot of fun tonight.
Yeah, a lot of great racing so far on Thursday nights here with the trucks. We've had quite a bit of shakeups, when it's come to winners. Only one repeat winner in Bud Steele, and we've had some guys come in and sneak a win. So great to see race number 5, I believe it is on the schedule. So 5 or 6. So getting tight to them playoffs and ready for a good Thursday night.
Yeah, no, and you're right. Yeah, this will be race number 6. Like you said, Bud Steele right now the only 2-time winner. And then I was looking at the points as well. Of course, it hasn't got into the drop weeks yet. I believe after tonight we'll start seeing the drop weeks, which of course means for these 8 races, it'll be your best 7 of the 8 races. That way, of course, if real life happens, things like that, you get a little bit of a reprieve. And so again, taking the top 12 in the points, but right now it's a 2-point lead of Charles Johnson over Bud Steele, even with the 2 wins, because right now Charles has had the consistency with his 5 starts, and that is with 5 top 5 finishes compared to the 3 for Bud Steele. However, Charles does also have a win as well. So right now, top 3 in the points all have wins, including Jock Walls there in 3rd. But right now, the 2 and 4th and 5th that don't have a win yet, but wouldn't be surprised to see them put one in the win column, being Nicholas Wing and Dean Wilkinson. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on those guys. And then I don't think we're going to have another one-off of a Matt Wagner trying to get the win. But yeah, like I said, I think points are going to be definitely starting to get on drivers' minds. Chatted with a few guys pre-race, I should say. And yeah, one of the mentions was I need to start getting a few more points, make sure I get myself solidly into that top 12. So again, once that drop week comes in, though, that'll definitely change things up a little bit.
And for most people, it's a bonus, right? So if you had a bad race or a bad week or maybe missed a race, that's where that will come in to really help. But a real shout out, Guy L, a new guy running over here with us in that 10 truck, Justin Davis. He's been real impressive. A new guy is not really stepped on many guys' toes, and he's got himself in playoff contention right now. So shout out to the 10 truck. I think he's sitting 9th or 10th in points. So have himself another good race here and get himself locked in the first run here at it.
Yeah, exactly right. I was just looking at the stats right now, and you're right. Of his 5 starts, 3 of which in the top 10. Worst finish showing in 15th, and then a 14th are the 2 worst finishes. Definitely could be worse. So based on that right now, with the whole drop week situation, again, unless he has a worst race coming up, it would be that 15th place finish he had that would kind of get removed from his averages. So that's how that drop week works. And again, it could be a huge benefit for if you miss a race, but then also just the same thing if you have that bad race like you talked about, Brandon. So again, like I said, just something that a lot of leagues do, as I know we do it on the IndyCar side as well. Again, I mean, things happen, vacations, real life, all that kind of stuff. And so yeah, so that's how that comes about. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. Looks like we've got about, actually we might be right around that that 15 number we just talked about there for his finish. So at the moment for that number 10 truck, even if he had a 15th place finish, it wouldn't be any worse than his worst one currently. So, but again, he's going to be going for that top 5 plus, like you said, having a great start to the season with the league, and maybe try to pull off a win on his own side.
Yeah, well, when we had him up here in the booth and got to talk to him, and he was one of those guys that was really ready to soak in all the knowledge, and as the seasons progressed, you found him, behind the Groovers or behind Gabe, somebody who's established themselves, and he's really not been he's just watched, and it's paying off when you're patient and you learn from the best. And speaking of Gabe, I believe he's going to kick us off on the pole tonight, Gael.
Yep, you're exactly right. It is going to be that number 88 of Gabe Butler on pole position by just 1/100th of a second over the 83 of Jack Walls. And actually looks like a tie pretty much there. Look at second through fourth here, Brandon. 0.012, 0.012, 0.013. So literally a thousandth of a second difference between second and fourth right on top of each other. And then you got Eric Laurie there fourth, Everett Lane rounding out our top five, and then our points leader Charles Johnson there sixth, Tom Dixon, Ryan Decker, Carl Engel, and Justin Davis you just mentioned. They're rounding out our top 10. And then running down the remaining order there, you got Nick Wing in 11th, Bob Fitzgerald 12th, and then Jim Brooks, Ambrose Knebel, and Bud Steele opting not to qualify. And say it's starting off quick on the chat. Caitlin's popped in and said, don't know what happened during qualifying, but Ryan just sprinted upstairs to pee. So he's making sure he doesn't have to make any extra pit stops in the race for his own personal reasons. So I say Ryan will enjoy us sharing that, I'm sure, with everybody, Caitlin. But hope you're doing well. Good to see you over here. And I think we've got all 15 trucks gridded up here and 75 laps in store. And Brendan, I think the other thing to talk about is fuel mileage, because from what I was hearing, it's going to be a little more pit stops tonight with the range of these trucks have at Daytona.
Yeah, I think we've been averaging, even without cautions, 4 or 5, just good short runs in this. And what we've seen from it is these groups really nail these entries. We've seen a lot of team pitting and stuff like that. And then we've also seen some guys when it comes to these pit stops and everything that you can drop to the back. So if you're a 3-car team, you have no worry about pitting by yourself, because they've seen they can catch back up. So yeah, quite a bit of pit stops in store for tonight.
Yeah, and that'll be important for tonight. Like I said, it's going to be, we always talk about making sure you don't make any mistakes getting in and out of pit road. And I think it's also going to open up a lot of potential strategy. Do you do fuel only? Do you maybe look at just the 2 tires? I don't think 4 tires is going to be a green flag pit stop that you'll see, because, again, with that reduced fuel tank, that means these pit stops are going to probably be in the sub 10-second range. And so at that point, you'd be waiting basically another 5+ seconds for the remainder of the tires to get put on. So I think under green flag conditions, probably fuel only, maybe even left side tires. But I think even if you take right sides, there's a chance you could be waiting on tires versus fuel. And again, this is one of those games of tenths of a second. Any little advantage you can get, you're going to want to try to take advantage of. So it'll be fun to see kind of what that strategy is for these drivers here tonight.
Yeah, it's definitely going to play a big role. You know, some people taking the 2, some people taking the 4. What we've heard a lot by guys that have won is that them tires, they start to, really pay a factor when we stay green. So we'll see if we have some clean racing. Some strategies are definitely going to come into play.
Yep, exactly, Ryan. We're going to find out here in just a minute. Like you said, it's going to be a lot of pit stops, could spread the field out. Of course, cautions will change everything here. As we get to the restart zone, initial green always goes on the flag. As we get underway here, Gabe Butler leading Jack Walls on the outside lane. As we head into turn number 1 for the first time, Dean Wilkinson, Eric Laurie, the pushers there in row 2.
Yeah, very good start there by Eric Laurie. He got a good little jump from Ryan and then is right on the back of Jack Walls. Jack Walls already picked himself a win up this year. The very first race of the year, the 83, captured a win. I'm pretty sure he's quite anxious to get back to victory lane, but that 88 and them guys got a nice little form with the 55 as we head down the backstretch.
Yeah, so you can see a lot of shiny trucks showing up now on the track as well. So I've been noticing a lot of chrome on a lot of these trucks lately. You can see Everett Lane in there in the 24. Really happy to have Everett back. Let's say he's been one of our regulars. I think missed a couple weeks, but now back strong. So really good to have him back as well. And right behind him, we've always talked about Tom Dixon in that shiny green truck. Of course, selfishly, always appreciate a green white checkered sponsorship on there as well. So right now, though, Gabe leads lap number 1. Jack Walls has a plenty of help from that number 9 of Charles Johnson. At the moment, that inside lane still holding strong with Dean being the pusher there in that 55.
Yeah, right now it's really just a ride, and hey, let's get to the finish. And the guy I'm really going to pay attention to is we got one guy over down there cleaning the tires off on the apron. As we hop back here, is that man right there in that 6 truck. Bud Steele, the last time we came here, he picked up the win, and Bud Steele's really got it figured out this year, and not just him, but that team really has it figured out. So, interested to see if Bud can go back to back at Daytona.
I mean, you definitely know he's going to want to. You got one there up top, and that was actually Justin Davis, and that, I don't know, that seemed like he's dropping a little bit too far back. You always got to be careful about how far you want to drop back and risk losing that draft. So we'll keep an eye on him in the interval to hit that 04 of Ambrose Cable we just talked about. And so right now it's about 0.6 of a second and still growing. So he's got to make sure that he can do all he can to pull back up in there. And it now looks like it's starting to go back the right way. So I think he's going to be okay. But again, with a small field like this, you got to be very careful not to lose that main pack. So right now, like I said, you see everybody's pretty much single file. There's that couple trucks there double wide, the 83, the 9, and the 48. As soon as that 48 is going to slot in right in front of Tom Dixon there. So that's going to leave Jack Walls there as well as Charles Johnson. And now Tom Dixon says, all right, let me join the party there in that TW truck, as he's going to try to work his way up to his teammate there in the 9, one of those TW Motorsports combos. Keep an eye on those two. And, of course, at some point we'll see Dean, I'm sure, pop in there. And then at some point, again, the other guy I always watch, and I just wait for the move to happen, is Bob Fitzgerald in the OA. But I got to jump back up front because we went 3 wide here. Gabe's got to the middle, Dean to the inside. Jack had to go to that top lane for a second, Brad. Now he slots back in that second lane. So jumped back for a little bit. Leaders made a quick move there up front.
Yeah, I thought we were going to kick in that third lane already. I was getting a little excited. I thought we were on 74 instead of 4, but guys got it figured back out. And speaking of chrome paint jobs, I don't even want to know how much Carl Lingle had to pay for all that gold on his truck. That thing is some shiny gold right there. That's a good-looking race truck right there.
Yeah, Carl's is looking really good. And again, like, the scrolls always have some fun little additions. Like I said, like, prior to this team being part of Area 51, I would have never had the guess of just a completely ripped scroll. Like, every time I see it, it just cracks me up. But yeah, now you can see and say on the rear spoiler there too, it says looking for a nut. I say that's always obviously the play on words, that the blind squirrel finds a nut every so often. And so yeah, I always enjoy the play on words that some of these guys do. Obviously some really good looking paint schemes. A lot of drivers like to have fun with them too. We saw obviously recently the St. Patrick's Day themed paint schemes as well. And then obviously we mentioned with the 88 Gabe Butler, he's always got Guinness on the side of that thing. So he's always ready for St. Patrick's Day. But yeah, right now I'd say he's been in control right now. I'd say Dean's been pretty committed to him thus far. We've seen a few times they've been in separate lanes, but once again, Gabe able to get back in line. And again, like you said, the fuel mileage hit thing, maybe even if it doesn't cut out a pit stop, does going that extra lap, maybe against smaller pits with teammates, maybe a few less drivers, would that be something you'd like to do? Would you rather be in that smaller group, maybe pitting that one lap later, or what's your mindset when you're behind the wheel in these situations?
I'm more of, since I was never really ever with a big group, mine was with the guys I trusted. So a lot of people, it is really good to have teammates here, but it's really who you're most comfortable with. And when I was there, I always just followed the guys that I felt like was going to put me in the best position. Now, they would bring me in probably at pit road the best every time. I would just fail on hitting my marks getting to pit road. So, but that's how it was for me, just who I'm comfortable with. And we seen last week these guys brought all these trucks to pit road at one time under green and didn't put a mark on any truck. So with this group we got right here, whenever it's time to go.
Yeah, and then of course sometimes your hand gets forced where if let's say you're trapped on the top side and you can go the extra lap, then you're going to take that lap and then of course try to get in there. Whereas at the same time, if you're in a spot where maybe you get separated from your teammates, it's like, well, I just got to go where I can go and make the best of it. Because, again, you don't want to run a lap by yourself. If you're considering running long, you need to make sure you have a friend. You see, look at Gabe there, jumps up and saw the momentum shifting to the 9 of Charles Johnson, decided to hop right up there and take the front of that 9 truck, see if that can push him back forward. But it's kind of like we saw earlier there, that in doing so, Dean gets to the front there now in the 55. Eric Laurie now giving him the nice charge. Dean easily clears Gabe there in the 88 truck, almost where Eric Laurie almost had a chance to as well. But again, though, the other thing to watch is temperatures. We always talk about that as well. You can only push for so long before you start to get that water and oil temp too hot. And that's where, of course, we've seen, unfortunately, a couple times where those motors will pop. And then it's just whether or not that guy can get out of the way in time before the field gets basically all the way up. And sometimes, unfortunately, we've seen bad things occur from it.
Yeah, and iRacing's really throwing a curve according to some of these drivers. Even, if you're just blinking red for a second and you get out of the draft and you still got clean air, that you still, big move there by the 88 to get down. But we've heard some guys say even when they've got out of the draft, it just wasn't quick enough and the engines gave. So definitely got to keep that engine cooled down. And I thought maybe Gabe and them guys was coming to pit road as quick as he made that big move there. So clean through 10 laps so far, so I would assume pit stops around the corner.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. I was hearing, I want to say it was like 16 to 18 range was the rough I was hearing, based on, of course, the 17, 18 range will be those that are able to save a little bit. And we always talk about those drivers that have been saving from the get-go. And I feel like whenever we talk about good fuel mileage and good fuel strategies, it's that 28 truck of Nick Wing. I feel like week in and week out, if there's a fuel strategy to be had, Nick is the one that's really leading that charge. So we'll keep an eye on the 28 truck for sure. And you look at some of the teammates he has on the Roswell camp right with him. They're the 51 of Jim Brooks. Like you said, the defending winner of this race there, was it last week's winner, I'm sorry, Bud Steele. Actually defending winner of this race and last week's winner, Bud Steele. Yeah, both of them. Good job to him. See, maybe they're all locked on together and see what their strategy will be. Maybe, like I said, maybe try to go that one extra lap. We'll have to kind of wait and see on that one. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see on the strategy side of things. Like we talked about, the two tires of fuel only, I think, are definitely going to be the decisions to be made. But then also, of course, then it's the pit exit, a very flat exit compared to Talladega. So you can't just mat the gas all the way down the apron. You're going to have to pedal it a little bit, and that's where that little extra you can get out of that is going to make a big difference as well.
Yeah, big difference, because we know in iRacing's tighten it up and you get closer and closer to that yellow line, and you never know what iRacing can call. And if you barely put those right side tires over that line, they're quick to throw a penalty. And coming back to pit stops, the Roswell team, Bud and them, a lot of times they've been the first guys to come to pit road, and they've executed so well. And I believe that's why that team has done so good this year. They have executed to a T. Coming in and exiting pit road, they come in and they get a very, very good lead because they leave so well. So really shout out to them guys, and that's one of the toughest parts about doing this, especially with some of the tracks we run, like Atlanta adding in the new pit stop or pit entrance, and then iRacing, how you got to get down. So major kudos to that team this year.
And yeah, so we're looking at the back, because right now that's pretty much all Gabe can see is out the mirror. As right now, again, everybody still continues to stay out, and that's a really good point. Atlanta's definitely been the biggest change for everybody. It was honestly, I think it's the right call for iRacing. It was dangerous to try to run that try to enter pit road out of turn number 4, because it never worked 9 times out of 10. And so now with you having to get to the apron, and that said, I want to say NASCAR, they actually have the pit speed limiter entering turn 3. Whereas here in iRacing, you can still go as fast as you can and then back down at the pit entry. And I think that's the better way to go with that one. And so, like I said, that's definitely been a big change for how to run these races, how to make that pit strategy, and same thing, just getting the most you can. So right now, the two we're going to have to be watching. We're getting fairly close to that window. It's going to be the 9 and the 411 there. Charles Johnson, Tom Dixon. Can they find a way to slot into that inside lane? And I say right now, it's not for a lack of effort from Tom Dixon's part. He is, you can see, all on the rear bumper of Charles Johnson, trying to give him that shove clear of the 88. But again, in a competitive nature like this, as I say that, look at the big run they get out of turn 2. Charles is cleared. Now they got to wait. Can that number 411, can he clear too? No, can't quite do it. And now Tom is all on his own. He's got to hope that someone can give him a little bit of space to slot in here, because right now he is a lone man on this outside line.
Yeah, that's not where you want to be, especially with, pit stops coming up. That was unfortunate for them too. They got the 1 clear, but not the 2, and that's one of the worst things that you hate is a pusher. It's like, oh, we're doing so good, I got you clear. It's like, oh, but I'm not clear, and then you get hung out to dry. So hopefully he can fill in right here. It looks like Carl
did him a solid there, and that's, again, not the same team, but just, again, the respect for one another there. It's almost like, I'm sure Carl, same things, like if the shoe's on the other foot, he's kind of like, hey, I let you slot in here. Remember that next time if I have that same situation. So we'll see here again. Like you said, we'll see if do we see the whole field come in possibly this time. This will be starting lap number 16, so it might be this lap, might be one more. But then I want to watch to see, does anybody go a little further? Like I said, I watched Nick Wing, Jim Brooks and company. We'll see if they react. And right now, here comes the first couple. So we are going to have a little split strategy here. It's going to be Dean Wilkinson there, Charles Johnson, Tom Dixon, and Bob Fitzgerald. So that's the TW team all coming in together. This is a strategy call by them. Like you mentioned before with Roswell, maybe pitting that one lap early. I think maybe TW is thinking the same, like, hey, let's go and try to do this as well. You see right there, Bob nailing his pit stall. Same thing for the 411. For the 9, you see the left side's going on. Looks like left side tires for all 4 drivers there. We'll jump back up to the front as now we got teammates there. 1, 2, 3 working in Discord with the 88, the 071, and the 24 Everlane. This is the situation they love to be in here. And also looking at their starting spots as well. They won't have to worry about crossing each other on pit road. So here they come, and do we see... Nope, that's going to be everybody else here in the second go-around.
Yeah, great entrance there. See, this is my one fear about pitting in this big group. As you see, I believe that was the 04 Ambrose. He had a little break there at the end. So as you see this gap that's already been created, and you're the last guy coming in. So that's the one thing I fear about this big group is hopefully Ambrose can get it going. And I'm not seeing any right side tires, Gaio.
Yeah, these are looking like feel lonely to me, and a lot of these guys are already down and away. So now it's just how well they get reassembled with one another. You saw right there, Nick Wing kind of sliding out of the throttle a little bit, letting Jack Walls slide in there. And yeah, I think it's going to be exactly what you said. A few drivers are going to be in a tough spot here. Right now, I'm going to say Justin Davis is in a good spot. I worry about Bud Steele. I worry about Jim Brooks, especially too, because he's way off those guys. And so Gabe, Eric, and Everett, they're in a really good spot. But here comes those TW guys again. They pitted that lap earlier. They've got that full head of steam here. Look how well they're organized as well. This is the way you got to do to try to win these races, is to nail the entry, nail the exit, stay connected to each other. They're going to jump all the way up now into the 4th spot. Not quite getting to Gabe, Everett, and Eric, though, at the moment. We'll see. I think they're going to bring that gap in, though, because they were about 1.5, but you can see it's clicking down there, down to 1.4, 1.3. So that's going to also, same thing here, Brandon. That's going to ladder these other guys, because if not for TW right there with those 4 trucks, I think Everett, Gabe, and Eric would have left Ryan Decker, Jack Walls, and company behind. So, but right now, the ones that are in danger here, talked about them earlier, Justin Davis in the 10 truck right on the edge of hanging on to the draft of that 30 of Carl Lingle. We'll have to keep an eye right now. That's going the wrong way. Bud Steele, same thing for him. He's about a second half off Justin. I don't see that one working out for them. And then Jim Brooks here in the 51, Ambrose Kniebel. We just talked about those two. Both those guys clearly off the pack, unfortunately. And so I think... I'm watching Bud to see if he has any chance, but it's 2 seconds. It's too far gone. What they got to do now here is Carl's good to go, but Justin, Bud, Jim, they need to get locked on together. One of them's got to start lifting a little bit, start working together to minimize that time loss. So we'll see if any of them start to drop throttle. But with that first run here, though, Brandon, it's basically taking that 15 truck pack and turn it down to 11.
This right here is why it is so hard to win in this league, is the green flag pit stops. When that last group came to pit road, we seen there was 10 cars. They all were together. When the 88 and them guys left pit road, the 3 of them, they had a gap that was a good, decent gap. That's the little marks where you gotta really nail. And if it wasn't for that earlier pack pitting and keeping this bunch together as they came around, the 88, 24, and 071 might have checked away. So some things these guys got to note as these pit stops go on throughout the night.
Yeah, exactly right. I'm looking at the numbers right now. I always like to look at on my overlays the pit lane time, the pit stop time. And pit stop time, everybody was in the 8 to 9 second range. Nothing stood out there for me. But it's exactly what you said. It's the pit lane time, basically the total time getting in and out of pit road, plus stationary. The Gabe Butler, Everett Lane there, Eric Laurie, they were all in the mid 33 second bracket. And then I look at some of the other guys there, they're in the mid to upper 34 second bracket, even a couple in the 35 seconds. So That's a second and a half or so. It sounds like not a lot, but again, 1.5 seconds, that's just outside the draft range usually. So again, like you said, if it wasn't for the TW guys having a great pit stop in that lap before, I think it's a 3-truck runaway, and then the rest of the field's going to have to reassemble to try to chase them back down. So like I said, great job by TW, and it's definitely going to kind of, I think, serve notice for those other guys. Hey, we cannot make any mistakes anymore. And I can tell you, Bud Steele, Justin Davis, they have got together, so they're going to kind of maybe limit some of the time loss that they have. Unfortunately, Jim Brooks and Ambrose Kniebel, they still stay about that 4 seconds separated from one another. Same thing, it'd be in their best interest to find a way to get together, because lead pack right now running in the high 46s. Justin Davis, Bud Steele running in the low 48s, so about a full second slower. But then Jim Brooks, Ambrose Kniebel running in the high 50-second brackets, so almost about 4 seconds a lap slower. So it tells you, even just a 1-truck draft, how much it'll help.
Yeah, that it would definitely, not only that, but it saves you from maybe going down as many laps. Maybe we might go down one, but then when we come to pit stop, something may happen, something leaving pit stop. So you really just want to, as Gabe drops down to take over the bottom lane, it's going to save you in the long run. And getting back to these guys up front, winless this year, Gabe Butler. As you said, like Everett Lane just being here winless this year. Eric Laurie winless this year. So these guys up here that's battling, they know that, hey, we got to start getting some wins, and they're going to be aggressive. And when you take good drivers and you put them in aggressive mode, it makes it that much harder to get the job done, and if it wasn't hard enough.
Yeah, exactly right. We're hopped on board there with Carl Lingle for a moment, getting the view from him, as right now he's the last truck in that train. But again, not in a bad spot, because he is importantly in that draft like we just talked about. So now we talked about the strategy as well. So we talked about the TW guys pitting around lap 15, 16 for the rest of the field. So what that means is we're about another 6 laps away from seeing the next round of pit stops for the TW guys. Because again, if they went at 15, that probably means right around lap 30 is going to be the second go around. And then probably then at that point also, again, 31, maybe 32 for the other trucks. It just really depends on the fuel saving, because right now, obviously, the 88, he's been burning the most fuel of those that pitted on 16. And you can see, again, all the TW drivers there, they're all still in lockstep with one another. So same thing, they'll be burning plenty of fuel. So that's where the split strategy starts to open up a little bit. Do we see drivers like Orion Decker, Jack Walls, and Nick Wing? Do they maybe say, hey, we can actually save and go one more lap, where maybe we see 3 different laps of pit stops for the lead pack? Or same thing, is it too risky to not have enough drivers to make that happen? So there's going to be some decision making, almost that chess decisions you have to make here shortly for these guys.
Yeah, if I'm in the truck right there, as you see the Gabe keeps pushing lanes. If I'm those guys, that's when I would try to, maybe, as you see the 071, the 24, they're not splitting up. We heard they're in the same radio. They're working as a team. And if I'm a driver, I'm trying to split them guys up some way, somehow. Either maybe let that line drop, let those guys take forward on the bottom line, something where it's got to be a strategy as we come to pit road, because we've seen them execute it so well. That would be my strategy. Let's try to split them up so when they're coming to pit road, they're not nose to tail.
Yep, and that's exactly it. Is at some point in this race, like you said, they're going to have to get a little more aggressive, find a way, see if they can break them apart, because right now, like you said, they came in together that last time, and they did a very good job. TW as well, he said they came in that lap before, but they were fully organized as well. So that's going to be big. And where you talk about minimizing the laps lost, right now leaders come into 3. Ambrose Kniebel hasn't even cleared turn 4 yet, so basically probably in another lap, maybe 2 at most, leaders are going to come up on that 04 truck, and then probably not even a lap later they'll be catching the 51 of Jim Brooks as well. You can see him right there in the picture for a brief second. That's the difference. Again, we talked about, I mean, it's over 3 seconds, sometimes 4 seconds a lap slower, just because of not having any draft. And again, that's where, I don't know if, hopefully they'll be aware of that next time, but if you get separated and you have another guy rolling solo, you got to drop back to him. It sucks to give up time, but you gain more. Even if you lose a little bit, it's one of those short-term losses, long-term gains. And I'm seeing that from Bud Steele and Justin Davis. As leaders enter 3, they're coming out of turn 2. So they're about a straightaway back, but again, they would be getting lapped as well if they stayed in that same situation. So now leaders got to be on their toes here. Brandon Ambrose going to take the top side, let everybody drop it down. Now his goal here is he's got to slot in right behind his teammate there, Carl Lingle. Make sure he does not lose the draft this go around.
Yeah, they caught him at the perfect point too. As you get through the corners 3 wide, it gets really, really tight. So respect to the 04 for let these guys go back through the field, and hopefully he can hop back on. And but mad respect to him for letting these guys keep racing. And as we can see here, the 88 still on the outside line of the 55, or in front of the 55, and pit stop's gotta be closing in, Gael.
Yeah, now that's the decision for TW at the 55, the 9, the 08, 411. They're going to have to find their way to slot down in here. You saw for a second, I think Tom Dixon was maybe trying to pop in front of Carl Lingle, but Carl was there. Nothing that Tom could do at that point. Now he's, oh man, that's closer. He's squeezed in there as best he could. You see now again that group of trucks, they're catching Jim Brooks down the 51. He's going to do the same, roll the top side, let everybody slot by on the inside here. And then same thing for Jim. He's got to make sure he can slot into the draft here. And then it's going to be that fight between the 51 and the 04 for that potential lucky dog position. If we get a yellow right now, those would be the 2 trucks vying for it. Right now, Jim has it, but right now all the draft momentum is going to the 04 of Ambrose. So in another lap or 2, it could be the 04 ahead of that 51. But like you said, though, it's about pit time. And the 55, the 9, they haven't found their way down yet. The teammates have, though, with the 08 and the 411. But no takers yet, as we're going to start lap number 30 here.
Yeah, Gael. Now, if you're the 6 and the 10 back there, if you're Bud, are you radioing up to those guys to see where they're at on fuel, and maybe you pit a half a lap earlier, so the time you don't maybe necessarily, if you go the half a lap earlier before them leaders, one, you're going to come out in front of them. You're going to come out earlier at the pit stop, but then you maybe the less chance of going a lap down easier. How would you approach this if you're the 6 and the 10?
That's if you come in maybe a lap earlier than you can, it does shorten the pit stop time. Oh man, that's a tough one, because you shorten a bit. Like right now, if they pitted early, they would get put a lap down, and so that's why something says it is nicer to run a little bit longer, just in case of that yellow. So I think for them at this point, I think they just go as far as they can, and they're probably honestly burning the most fuel of everybody. Here you go. There's the answer. You see Dean, you see Charles. They know they got to pit this time, so they're having to drop back. They didn't want to, but they have to fall back in line here. So the 9's dropped in front of his teammate. You're going to see the 55 drop in front of Charles, and so this is going to give you the answer right here. You're going to see, I think, these 4 trucks here, the 55, the 9, the 08, 411. Expect to see them in this time. And we'll see, again, it's possible as well for Jim Brooks and Ambrose. They may have to come in with them as well, just because by themselves they were having to go flat foot that whole way around. So we'll see if anybody else. Nope, just going to be those 4 again. TW once more here pitting at least a lap earlier. And again, you can see everybody able to get into pit road. Now they got to make sure that they hit their pit stalls nice and clean.
Yeah, definitely a clean entry by those 4, and I like them sticking to that same plan. Come in a lap earlier. Let's get our stuff knocked off. Not everybody's going to be in here. We don't have to worry about getting around anybody. So I like this call again. And now what I also like is that the 48 is leading behind those three trucks up front, as we see a very clean entry here. But as you see, the 48 and the 83, they are doing what you have to. So they're getting up there, and they're going to put the pressure on these 3 to execute even more. Put a little bit more pressure. Oh, as you see, they came here a little bit of a lap early, but I do like this pack here of the 3 staying out. They're going to be very fast, and as you see, less cars to make a mistake. And the 88, 24, and 071 coming to get their pit stop.
Yep, exactly right. And so it's what we thought there for Ambrose and Jim. They had to burn a little more fuel, so they couldn't go that 1 extra lap. So same thing now. These guys all have to hit their marks. Didn't see any reversing there. Justin Davis and Bud Steele, they're coming in again as well here for their scheduled stop. So yeah, so this is a good opportunity for these 3, like you said. So this is giving us that 3-lap window. So you've got TW right now versus the Bootknockers versus the Roswell team is pretty much what we have right now that you're seeing on track here. So we'll see them. Yeah, here they all jump in together. They're going to same thing. You guys split up a little bit. Give yourself that nice wide entry. And then you see the only concern I have right there is I feel like Jack gave up a little too much there in the entry. You can see he's got a couple truck lengths now between he and Nick Wing. And so he's going to have to try to see if he can make sure he can make that up because, again, you got to make sure you don't miss anything here. You see there, looks like both those guys hit their stalls. Jack nice in as well. And looking, oh, right side tears.
Oh.
This makes me nervous here. Again, I talked about you might have to wait. And so you're going to see there's both trucks already gone. Jack's still waiting. Now he goes. He won't come out in their draft. He's going to have to hope that the other trucks might be able to tag onto the back of them. As here goes the three trucks. Again, we talked about Gabe, Everett, and Eric once more all together. But again, though, Charles Johnson, Dean Wilkinson, Bob Fitzgerald, Tom Dixon, again, the four of them, a great job in and out of pit road. And then Carl Lingles hoping that he and Jim Brooks can lock on here with each other, pull themselves back in. But there's the 48, the 48, the 28, and then the 83. We'll see. I feel like that ticker is going too far the wrong way here. This might, again, go from, 11 trucks? I think we're about to drop all the way down to now 7 trucks. Maybe 8 if Carl can stay in there. That's going to change things yet again here, just 2 pit stops in.
Yeah, that's what really makes this league tough. It's not just your average super speedway and where you're going to have to push around and you're going to have to rely on cautions or something like that. No, you got to come into this league and you got to put the time in practice, and you got to execute every single part of racing in this league. And that's one of the things that make me love it so much is you just can't just run around and shove somebody in the back, and you got to have some talent. And these drivers make it happen every single week. And we got a good little pack up here. And now we just got to decide how do we overtake those guys up front and try to take the lead over.
Yep, exactly right. And I can tell you saw there Carl Engel was able to push Jim Brooks up, so that puts Carl back in this lead pack as well in the 30 truck. So 8 drivers in this lead pack on the lead lap. Jim Brooks right now the first of those, 1 lap down in the 51. But I've been watching the lap times. Last time by this group, Ryan Decker, Nick Wing, Jack Walls, they were about half a second quicker. But again, though, it's going to be right now at the risk of the 28's engine because Nick Wing has been pushing like there's no tomorrow, just giving Ryan Decker all he can handle. But right now, they are definitely closing the gap. It's about 2 seconds now to Carl Engel. If they can get another half second, they'll start to feel the effects of that draft. And you see right there again, Nick basically pushing through straights, drops off through the turns, gets some fresh air into the truck, and then he's going to lock right back onto the rear of that 48. And I think they will be able to get back up there. So at this point, Nick needs to make sure he plays it a little safe with that engine. Don't want to risk the overheating too much. Obviously, you're going to have to take a little bit of a risk. But yeah, right there you can see there Ryan giving him a little bit of the inside lane, giving him a little bit more of a breath. And I think now they're about 1.4. Yeah, they should be there now. So really good work by the 3 of them to get back into this main pack. So we talked about maybe losing the 11 trucks on the lead lap, but we're going to get those 3 back right now as they're now just within a second. So great job by those 3 to get back in touch as right now we've got a pretty solid train looking here.
Yeah, not only just a shout out to them, but it's a shout out to the admins of the league that build this setup to be able to give these trucks the opportunity to be able to be a few seconds back, and if you have 3 trucks that you can catch back up, and that's the time and effort that is put into these setups in this league. And so shout out to everybody that takes the time out of their day to work on these setups to give us great trucks to bring to the track. So thank you guys, I appreciate it.
Yeah, so right now we got a bit of a train going, so this is a perfect time to run through the field, show off our drivers and their paint schemes. And right now it is our pole sitter Gabe Butler leading the way in the 88 truck. Right behind him, the 24 of Everett Lane there. He runs second after starting in 5th. Eric Laurie from 4th to 3rd at the moment in that 071 Chevrolet. Then you got Charles Johnson, the number 9, also up 2 spots there in his Hydro Flask Chevrolet. Then Dean Wilkinson, the 55, running in position number 5 in his Cheerwine Ford F-150. And then right behind him, you've got the 08 Bob Fitzgerald. You got U.S. Air Force down there. You got SpaceX. He's got NASA on there. I think he wants to go maybe a little further than what the airplanes can do. Always love seeing Bob on track, and he's one of those guys. If he can get that truck in position, he's always one that you're going to keep an eye on. You always want to root for too. Really, really good dude, and like I said, he's just one of those ones. He's got to have the brakes to get there. Right now, up 6 spots into 6th, and then right behind him, Tom Dixon, another one of those TW drivers there in that Chevrolet, the green and black. He's got TW Motorsports there, Area 51, green, white, checkered, HyperX on the side as well. And then we'll jump one truck back for lead lap position. And there's that gold you're talking about. Carl Engel in that number 30 Blind Squirrel Racing as he sits in the top 10 in 8th. Then, of course, the Sensi truck, Ryan Decker there. He's got plenty of love on the back of there for his son Dixon. Always love to see what they have on tap on the paint scheme side of things. And then Nick Wing rounding out our top 10. And so I feel like if it's Nick Wing, you're going to lately have a Haveling truck, and that's exactly what we have out of that number 28. So right now he shows in 10th, and then Jack Walls in that Delaware truck. Delaware University, I believe. So I don't want to botch the school. You can get in trouble if you get the wrong one. But it's the Blue Hens, as he right now runs in 11th, last truck in this main pack. And then pit stop number 1 here, Brennan, unfortunately, dropped to 6, dropped to 10. Buzz Steele and Justin Davis, and right now they continue to run together. They're about to pick up the 04 of Ambrose Kniebel, so that'll give them one more truck to work with. That's the 6 of Buzz Steele and the Navy truck. Justin Davis there in that number 10 Regulators machine, and then you'll see there's Ambrose Kniebel there in the 15, or sorry, in the 04 in the 15th spot. Apologies. But then in front of him right now, the first truck one down is that number 51 of Jim Brooks in the main pack, importantly. So right now he is the first car one down, the only truck a lap down in that lead pack.
Yeah, if I'm in the 6, I'm telling Justin Davis, push me, push me, push me. If we wreck, we wreck. We don't have really nothing to lose at this point. So that's one of the tough things about being back there. It was always hard, is having the patience, is be seen in races before. You know, you never know what the last couple laps will bring. But if I'm the 6, man, they got that 3 truck pack and knock off it maybe a little much as you can at a time. So, but at this point, we got the 88 out front leading. I think he's comfortable out there. What do you think, Gaio?
Oh yeah, he's got 2 teammates that he trusts right behind him. And right now, we're definitely at the point in the race where everybody's just right now cruise control. Like I said, they're logging laps. They're really not. It's one of those things where for those that watch Formula One, they'll have that qualifying session. It's maybe like 15 minutes long. Everybody goes out for a run, then they sit and kind of chill for a little bit, make sure that they're ready to go for their next run before the session ends. That's what we got here right now. Everybody made their moves to get into the positions they want to be in. Now we're about the midway point through the race. Everybody's just settling in now. Okay, what do we have? What do we like? What do we maybe need to adjust a little bit strategy-wise? Pit stops, okay. 2 tires did not work. Let's do fuel only next time. Can we maybe save a little bit of fuel to potentially cut out a pit stop or shorten that final pit stop? I think right now, like I said, it's that strategy side of things now. They're just trying to figure out where they want to position themselves. But yeah, right now, I think everybody's pretty content here. The TW guys, again, they had to pit a lap earlier, so they have to probably do a little teeny bit of fuel saving, I think, to probably try to match what the other guys have done. But then again, you go back to Ryan, Nick, and Jack. They went 2 laps further than the TW guys, but they had to push a lot there to get back to the lead pack. So you almost wonder if that lap or so they gained, they probably lost right away just chasing back to the field.
Yeah, definitely probably used a little bit more fuel, not lifting near as much as the guys in front of them. And do you have by chance what lap we came down the last time? As we're coming down to this time by will be 31 to go, and these guys may be thinking 1 or 2 more stops. What do you think here, Gaio?
I think it's going to be 2 more. So they're going to start lap number 45 this time. So we'll be 31 to go, 30 to go next time around. They last pitted lap 32, so we still got a little bit of time. But yeah, probably again, same thing. The next 5-ish laps or so will be the next scheduled stop. But again, it's not going to be a number to get them to that magical 75 points. So it's going to be 2 stops, I think, no matter what. I think, again, it's that potential of maybe if you go that little bit further now, maybe that final stop, same thing. Maybe you can cut off a second or so off your final pit stop time. But then, like we always talk about, What do you plan on here, Brandon? If you're these guys, okay? It's a smaller field. It's pretty spread out right now. Do you say, you know what? I'm just gonna take the gamble. I'm gonna pit for just enough fuel to get to the scheduled distance, or do you say, you know what? I think there's gonna be a late yellow, brings out those green white checkers. I want to have enough fuel to maybe have that 1 or 2 attempts if we need to. I mean, how do you make that gamble in a field like this? Do you do something different in a smaller field versus a bigger field, or what do you think if you're in the position of these guys in this top 11 in the lead pack?
If I'm those guys that's been pitting early, the TW guys or the Roswell guys, these guys that have linked up and shown that they can nail pit road, I would pit early. I would do enough just to get me to that next pit stop where they've been saying 16 to 17, so maybe just go with 13 laps and throw the rest in it. But not only that, we've seen that 3 trucks are faster than this group, so you're going to gain time. If you pit early and keep that 3-truck group, you're actually going to pull away a little bit further from what we've seen. So I would maybe come a little early and try to make up the time on those guys up front that way.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see what they do. Like I said, this will be the same thing though. They gotta make sure they don't make any mistakes. You start to get a little antsier as you get closer. You maybe try to push a little deeper on the brakes. Maybe try to get a little tighter into your pit stall, or same thing, even try to throttle up on the pit exit a little bit sooner than you need to. And say that's one of those things where we have seen before mistakes happen in the pit stop cycle. We saw there was one race with the Gen 4s where I think it was like 4 cars maybe that didn't make a mistake. So that's going to be another thing to keep an eye on. But yeah, you can see right now though, everybody's just definitely in cruise control mode. And I think they're thinking the same thing. I think everybody's just trying to save every drop of fuel to minimize how long they're in their pit stop for that final stop potentially. Which right now is, say again, looking and based on the lap times, they haven't dropped anchor. They're running right now in the low 47s or so. Fastest laps have been around the low 46s, so they're about a second off. But I mean, you can see why. You can see Everett Lane. He doesn't need to shove Gabe everywhere around the track. He can leave like maybe a couple, not even a length. I'd say maybe a bumper length or so. But as I said, you can see him pushing him down the back there. But yeah, they don't need to shove because they don't have any challenge right now. Charles Johnson, Charles Johnson, Dean Wilkinson, Bob Fitzgerald, Tom Dixon, all the TW drivers, they're content. They're just saying, you know what? Oh, actually, here we go. These guys all come in. I think this is early, if I'm not mistaken. So I wonder if this was one of those monkey see, monkey do. They saw these guys jump in, said, yep, let's not get jumped by them. Let's come in now.
Yeah, it's we seen the ones that came early last time stayed out this time, and nope, as it looks like, yep, those guys came in together too. So knocking this last off, and I think what we'll see is maybe with 10 or so to go, that's when they'll come in, so they know they can make it for even if we do have a green white checkered. But look at them, they nailed that so perfect, and those guys behind them got to get lined up immediately as we see them right there get straight and forward and get going.
Yeah, I mean, once again, you see a slight gap from Eric Laurie to Dean Wilkinson, but I don't think it'll be enough. They got the same thing though. They're gonna have to wheel it through this apron here, and now we gotta go to this next group. So right now we got a tale of 2 strategies here. You've got Carl Engel now, Ryan Decker, Nick Wing, Jack Walls. They say, you know what? We're not gonna fall for it. We're gonna go further. And so what's gonna happen here is what we need to watch, Brandon, is once everybody gets settled in, gets up to speed, we need to watch lap times. That's going to be the telltale of how this strategy is going to go. And so right now, again, you got these top 3 breakaway, but there's 2 of the TW guys there together. Tom Dixon, Bob Fitzgerald, they're trying to chase them back down. But once again, though, they've lost one of the drivers in the draft there. They've lost the 51 of Jim Brooks. He's once more just didn't quite have the pit stop in and out that he needed. And so he's going to fall off the back of this pack again, unfortunately, which right now he's going to have a ways to go before he finds any help. But here's the response, though. The 48, the 28, the 83, and the 30 all coming in for their scheduled stop, coming to 25 to go here at the line.
Yeah, they said went with the strategy where just run it till it runs it dry, and great job by those other guys. They knew this was probably the second to last pit stop, and you really had to execute it, and they all did. Is we see Jack Walls taking left side tires here with fuel, and way better stop this time for the 83. He learned from his mistake and said, I ain't doing that again, and is actually going to come out I thought we was going to have a little hug there coming out of pit road, but they're really going to have to get on it to stay with this pack as they're winded up coming at them.
Yeah, but that's what I was watching too, as we're looking at the back of Nick Wing here in that number 28. You see Jack there right behind him. You see a little further back to the 48 there as well. And here comes the momentum to that top side. And there goes the train around him. So we didn't have a chance to check the speed differences. But now it's going to be a tough position here. What do you do if you're Nick and if you're Ryan? Do we see... I think Ryan and Carl, they could get locked on. But I'm wondering, do we see Nick Wing and Jack Walls? I think at this point they've got to roll back as well. They don't have the numbers, and that timing is going... I think... Actually, you know what? No. Timing is going the right way. Nick and Jack Walls, they're going to catch this main pack here, so they're going to bring 9 trucks back in. I'm not feeling so confident, though, about the 48 and the 30. We'll have to keep an eye and see. Maybe someone tries to drop back just a little bit to give them a little bit of draft, but at the moment, not looking likely. So it looks like pit stop cycles, though, have completely finished up here. Leaders are about to come up to Justin Davis, who would now put him 1 lap down. And at the moment would be the first truck lap. Right now he's tail end lead lap, but soon he'll be the first truck 1 down. But again, the biggest issue for Jim Brooks, though, he lost that draft, Brandon. So once the leaders catch Justin, Justin will take that position over and should be able to catch the back of the draft of these guys as well. And then also looking with, obviously with Justin, you're like, okay, well, where's Bud? Unfortunately, there's Bud. He's off on his own here as well. So right now the 51 and the 6 are not where they're hoping to be. And same thing for Carl and Ryan, but at least they've got 2 trucks, the same thing, just minimizing the damage. But there they go, 10 truck getting put that lap down. Looks like the 04 Ambrose Knable is going to try to maybe pop on, steal a little bit of draft, or even same thing, maybe just try to help him out, say, hey, let's lose a little bit less speed. That way you don't risk losing the draft. And I think that's exactly it. Got up there, gave him a little bit of a push, and now he's going to let him slot right here into line, if I'm not mistaken. Nope, he's going to fall through. But the 10 should be able to slot in here, no drama. So that's going to now leave us 9 trucks here after this 3rd pit stop on the lead lap. We still have 1 more to go. And it looks like there's some strategy, some gameplay afoot, Brandon. I think the 88-24, no 71, I think they're trying to come in early, catch the other guys off guard. And I think a lot of those other guys said, nope, not so fast. We're coming right with you.
Yeah, the 88 really just had his hands full a couple laps ago. They were coming up on the 04, and I think the 04 thought they were going to go high, and Gabe had to wheel it there at the last second. So good driving by him, and that was actually a blessing in disguise with that checkup they had. That's what allowed the 28 and the 83 to stay with this pack, was that hiccup that was caused just a couple laps ago. But keep it green, and these guys, I think they understand that, hey, we're going to start making some moves here.
Yeah, I'm watching lap times, and for a 2-truck, I guess I should say, tandem, these guys are working hard. They just ran a 47.95. Leaders ran a 47.60, so they were only 3/10 slower with only 3 trucks. This is one of those situations where these guys are really wishing, it's like, man, if we get someone to drop back with us, we could probably get back up there. But what we're seeing right now, though, is a little bit of strategy here. Jack Walls in the 83 said, I don't want to ride anymore. So he's locked on with the 04 of Ambrose Knable. Ambrose right now 2 down. If the 83 can push him ahead of the 88, that would actually put the 04 back to 1 lap down. And, of course, once you get to 1 down, there's a lot more opportunities that can be had to get back on the lead lap. So right now these 2 are working very hard here to try to get back around that 88, 24, and 071.
Yeah, great point, Gael, because the 83 knows the 04 is going to push it hard because he needs to get his lap back. And if everybody wants to stay in that inside lane and just ride, take some benefit from it. And you never know, you could be leading this pack coming in to the final pit stop, and you gain 10 positions that you don't have to worry about later, or that's maybe a second from that you gained in pit road just from being up there. So great move there by the 83.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, too, is if Jack can find somewhere to slot in, because, again, at this point, everybody has to make 1 more pit stop. There's no question there. Nobody's going to be able to stretch it an extra lap. So, and then, again, for the 04 here, a little bit of bobble there. For a split second, I was watching the timing and scoring. It did show him as the tail end, or it showed him as 1 lap down. So, for a moment, he was ahead of the 88. And, again, that could be all that matters. I mean, again, it could be... Oh, as I say that, I think the 83 is going to switch over here, and I think he's going to take the outside. I want to say the 04 probably going to switch as the pusher, But unfortunately, in that switchover, you can see the momentum being lost as at 83 now dropping to about 5th, 6th position. So, and I think that's attempt gone now. So Jack's going to kind of be on his own here, maybe see if he can find a friend, but he won't find a friend probably until Nick Wing at the best. So numbers-wise, it's looking good if you're part of the Bootnocker team or part of the TW team. The Roswell team right now only has 2 trucks in this pack on the lead lap, but Jack's holding strong here, maybe stealing a little bit of side draft, nothing too crazy, but it's kept him now right alongside Dean here in the 55, right by Eric Lord in the 071, and he's about to come up on a teammate. Oh, look at Jack there, big slot in there, just in front of Dean, and so it's just like you said there, Brandon. He got some track position, said, all right, let me see if I can find a spot to slot in, and that is exactly what it does. So now instead of being around 10th, he's now up to 4th.
Yeah, that's less checkups and less slowdowns that you got to deal with coming into this last pit stop. And this last pit stop is so crucial. You know, maybe if you're coming into pit stop and you got a guy that's a couple laps down, that's in front of you, that's coming at the same time. You know, he don't want to run over anybody, so he may be checking up a lot lighter than the guys in front, and that could cause a quarter second, and all that time adds up at a super speedway. And if you lose, like you said earlier, a second to a second and a half on pit road, it can end your night really fast. So Jack Wall is doing what he's got to do as we come to this last stop, and the pit window is open now, so it's going to be interesting to see when these guys decide to bring it down.
Yeah, I'm going to be curious to see when do we see some reaction and from where. The other thing I was going to be watching was to see if maybe like someone like Bud Steele in the 6 truck, close there though, or no, wait. I was curious to see, was maybe Bud going to try to maybe drop back to his teammate Ryan Decker there and Carl Engel, just because unfortunately he's not really in a good spot right now position-wise, now 3 down after everything that's been happening. But it looks like he's going to stay in this lead pack again because you don't know what could happen. Of course, the way iRacing works, if there's an incident and a caution comes out, it basically goes in order of drivers a lap or more down. So in this case right now, advantage would go to the 10 truck of Justin Davis. However, if Justin was involved in the wreck in any sort of way, even if he just got a little bump in it, that would cost him the lucky dog position. So then it would go to the next truck in line, which would be Jim Brooks. Right now, Jim's running on his own, so one would think he wouldn't get involved, and so it would actually go to him for the lucky dog. But same thing, let's say somehow the 51 had an incident involved in the same time, then it would jump to the 04 of Ambrose Knebel. So there's reasons to not kind of roll out of it, not to give up in any of these situations, because you just don't know. I mean, I've had races where I'd be fighting for a lucky dog, and I'd say, you know what, I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to force myself to be in this position because I'm in a dangerous position on track. And if I just drop back to the end of the line, if there's a wreck, I can roll out of it. The other guy might get caught up in it, and I can just almost steal one, if you will. And so I think that's another strategy ploy that you could see from some of these guys, because it's a risk versus reward. So we'll have to see. We're just about in the fuel window now here. So, Brandon, again, it's so far, based on that last pit stop, what the Bootnockers do, it seemed like that's what TW wanted to do. We saw Roswell try it, and it didn't quite work as well as they were hoping for. And as I say that, here comes Ryan Decker, Carl Engel. They are in. This is their final scheduled stop. They can make it from here to the end, and I think that's their plan, to say, you know what, once we're in the window, let's just come in now, and that way if something happens, caution comes out, we'll be able to get right back up into the thick of it, because you can see everybody's starting to get a little antsy trying to get to that inside line. And that 04 right now of Ambrose just wants to get down to pit with these guys, but like I said, now it's going to be that kind of that game of chicken. Who's going to jump first now?
Yeah, I was really watching that 48. I was hoping that maybe when they came out, they would be right there with Jim. As we got a whole pack of them coming here. Is right there is what we were talking about. You've seen a lot of checkup break there from the 9 truck. A lot of exhaust coming out the side of there, letting you know, flame coming out of there, letting you know he was checking up big time. So there's that crucial time. As we got to nail this. Thankfully, iRacing
Nick
has
Wing
when you
too
get
hot. You can see a couple trucks reversing 28 there. The 08 reversed as well. And now same thing. I'd make sure they chose the right strategy in tires and fuel. 83 and 88. Look at those two. They are off and gone. But Steele's right there. And then look at the fight behind them there. You got the 6, the 071. He needs to try to get lined up here. They're fighting side by side here. And I think Bud's going to give way here, let Eric slide up on in. So now it's the same thing, just who is able to get their best in and out laps. You see Everett Lane trying to see if he can even pass through the apron of Dean Wilkinson. But look at Gabe, unfortunately, doesn't have the draft, but he checked out. He was about a second and a half, so if he had somebody that was as good as him through the pit stop cycle, again, they'd be gone. But unfortunately, just didn't have the numbers, so now you're going to have these two here, Jack Walls and Eric Laurie, second and third, Bud Steele. What do we do here? You know Jack's going to go top, I feel like. Bud probably go with him, but I think you're going to see Eric hang bottom, pick up his teammate in the 88. And, yep, there he goes. That's exactly what I thought we'd see is the 83 and the 6. 88, 071 stay locked on together. And now they see blood in the water, though. Now they say, hey, look, we've got the boot knockers split up. Look at the 6 slots in front of Gabe there trying to help his teammate Jack Walls. And now we've got a fight on our hands. 12 more to go here.
Yeah, that was a great move. Bud is 2 laps down, but Bud is one of the first guys that I would tell you that he puts the team first. He is a big team guy, and racing that 071 off a pit road may not have seemed like it was a big deal because he's laps down, but that split those guys up on that, breaking up that group. We talked about it earlier. You had to do it. Yeah, they're back together now, but it kept them from keeping that group together and pulling away coming out of pit road. So great job by Bud and those guys. And now you see he's right behind his teammate and gives the 83 a better chance of a great finish.
Yep, you saw right there. Charles Johnson able to push Tom Dixon to the point there. Now Charles just a nose ahead, but he's got his teammate there of Dean Wilkinson right behind. And so you see here's Jim Brooks there rolling out of pit road. He's going to stay on the apron, let everybody slot on by. And then again, hopefully able to grab onto the draft. That's going to put Jim, I believe, 2 down. Yeah, indeed it is 2 down. And then Justin Davis, though, again, great job by him, though, staying in this main pack. He still stays 1 down, the only truck 1 down. Carl Engel, Ryan Decker, they still are together working with one another. Unfortunately, Nick Wing in that pit stop cycle, he lost that main pack. So right now, this is the fight for the win of this race. Is 8 trucks at the moment. There are more than 8 in the pack. You can see that. Couple are lapped down, but of course, as always, teammates can play a role on how to win this race. If they can find a way to push that teammate, they are able to. Of course, I mean, it's one of those things on the admin side within reason. Of course, you still want to respect your other competitors, but there's nothing against being able to push them. And here comes that third lane you knew was coming. Here comes Gabe. Here comes Eric. Here comes that 24 of Everett Lane. They want to get back to the front here.
Yeah, and we brought him up at the beginning of the race, the 10 truck of Justin Davis, and you have to be smiling sitting in your truck seeing this right now. You're the first car a lap down, and you're just riding back there, staying with the pack as you see these guys going 3 wide, and it just makes the odds of the big one happening, and we haven't had it yet, so if you're Justin, he's in the perfect spot. He can get his lap back and then still get some time to check up as these guys ain't lifting an inch. We're 3 wide, Gael coming on 2.
Yep, 3x3, 3 trucks, 3 rows deep as well. And then same thing for the other drivers that are big fans of these are Carl Engel, Ryan Decker said, hey man, if something happens, we're way behind it and we'll be able to get right back into the thick of this thing. As right now it looks like these guys are almost doing a salute lap the way they were perfectly organized there. As again, right now it's the 411 and the 9 on the inside of middle lanes, 88 on the top side. And these guys are the same thing. I mean, they're just going to push like all they have. But again, there's still 9 to go, 8 to go here at the line, Brennan. We talked about temperatures, oil, water. They can't get too antsy yet. You can't push for so long. You got to save that for that last lap or so. That's when you really can latch on at that point, just go for broke. So right now these guys got to be smart. But again, you're going to see that little side-to-side wiggles just because, again, the way everything is right now, it's so easy to get caught up in the moment. But like you said, right now, the truck with the best view, Justin Davis here, Brennan, in the 10 truck. Let's hop on board with him and see what he's watching.
Yeah, and what comes of this for people that haven't drove or watched before, what happens is, yeah, they're 3x3, but the 55 has nowhere to go. And as these guys try to break out to the right or break out to the left to get some air in that truck to cool it down a little bit, the guy next to you is thinking the same exact thing. So you got to hope he's going right when you're going right and you're going left when he's going left. So everybody's on the same page, and you could just see right there that wiggle right there by the 55 and just trying to keep a little bit of clean air hitting that truck so he can sit on the back of Charles Johnson.
Yeah, Ben saying, and that's exactly it. Is you want to try to be a little staggered if you can. You see, and then of course the third truck plays a very big role as well. And that's the other thing to mention is it's not just the two trucks in front that are nose to tail pushing. That third truck plays a big role. The closer that they can get to that second truck, that's going to propel that second truck closer to the first truck as well. So there's a lot of ways of doing this. One of the kind of the general maybe unwritten rules is 988, maybe just a little bit of a kiss there. Kind of the unwritten rule is don't push the pusher. So usually you won't see the third truck pushing the guy who's pushing the front truck. But again, you try to get as close as you possibly can. Again, so just even the air propels you a little bit further. As you see again, Charles and Dean here doing a great job of trying to just kind of work that little bit of a stagger, keep Dean's truck as cool as possible. Because the only other way to do that, Brandon, is like you said, it's to drop off maybe a half a car length or so, and that's the opposite of what you want to do here. So, but you can see they're starting to get a little more aggressive, a little more tight on one another because we are coming to 5 to go here at the line.
Yeah, if you never swam with the pool of sharks, Charles Johnson's doing it right now. The 88 and the 411, both winless this year. Both of these guys want to lock themselves in and get a good win here, and so Charles Johnson is praying that the 55 stays on him, because when it comes down to it, the 411 and the 88, they're not going to lift one bit, and they're going to be telling the guys behind them, hey, push it as hard as you can.
And then, yeah, just to add to that too, I believe I'm trying. I don't want to look too much because I'm too busy watching this. I believe this. I'll say obviously it's too soon to say, but I think this could be Tom Dixon as well, vying for his first Area 51 win too. So that would be a huge opportunity for him as well. That'd be a very, very popular win with the league and of course with his team as well. So like I said, that's one of those things too. You got to keep putting yourself in position. At some point it will pay off. So we'll keep an eye out for Tom. But right now you can see momentum's kind of shifted to the inside and middle lanes here for the moment. Gabe's going to need to regroup a little bit. And like you said, I think just there's been a couple of close calls with the 9, the 55, the 88. And I think that's kind of slowed them down a little bit because, again, if the inside lane drifts up a little bit, the middle lane's got to drift up a little bit. And that's going to put the outside lane where they're kind of at the most vulnerable. And so that's just how this is going to get going here because, again, they're just going to get that more aggressive in these final 4 coming to 3 laps here at the line.
Yeah, and if you don't think them 4D racewear gloves pay any dividends, I'm telling you right now, if the 411 don't have gloves on, he can definitely feel it on his steering wheel. I've been in that same spot that he's in. My first win, I had Matt Wagner behind me pushing me at a super speedway, and so I can only imagine what's going through the 411's head right now as we see that middle lane and the outside lane getting a little bit better run as the 411 closes it in as we go through the corner. But definitely white knuckle right now for the 411, and he's got a very, very good pusher behind him in the 83.
Yeah, no, this is definitely death grip time for sure. I'd be in the same boat, and yeah, let's say this is where gloves would be very useful. And so, yeah, it'll be fun to see. Kind of, we'll have fun chatting with these guys. Obviously, we don't know at all where the top 3 are going to be because, again, it could be any of these top 8 drivers. So, because again, the way it works here too, of course, for those that aren't familiar. Right now we're coming to 2 to go. They still got to have one more clean lap to have a chance to win this race because at that point it will be official once the white flag comes out. Then it's just who gets the line first, of course, within reason. But if a caution comes out before they get to the white, we're going to rack them up and do it up to 2 times. And I'm watching that third lane. They drop back just a little bit, but they're coming back here with a big head of steam here down the back. Eric Lorry's found Gabe. He's locked onto him. Everett Lane starting to run a little bit tighter to Gabe as well. And you can see the momentum starting to shift here. You can see the inside line having to drop a little bit. Probably Jack cooling his motor off for that last dash to the finish here. So I'll say these guys got to get through 3 and 4, get through the travel, and then it's just going to be who has what for this last lap.
Yeah, as we hit this white flag here, this is when the brake pedal is out the window. You might as well not even think about remove your foot from it because you're not going to touch it. It's going to be full throttle all the way out, and we got some of the best super speedway drivers 3 wide with 1 to go as we see the 411 battling back, but the 9 and the 88 sticking right with him, Gael.
Yeah, right now, like I said, it's just who's going to have the right push at the right time. Out of 2, Gabe had just on his head. There's the contact we were worried about. That's going to leave just the 3 trucks here lined up astern here. So unless something drastic happens, this could be the push for the win here. These guys are going to have to start side drafting each other. We'll see if Bud Steele there is behind him. He could play a role into this one. And you can see the 9, the 88, they're all starting to squeeze each other here. Right now, the nose ahead is the 9 truck of Charles Johnson. Gabe's on the inside. They're going to all squeeze each other, but at the line,
Finish!
I think it's going to be Gabe. We'll have to wait and see, but oh my goodness. What a 3-wide finish. Let's go back. We'll take a closer look, and we can tell you exactly where they were at the line because that was very close. And you can see they're all squeezing each other, just trying to get everything they can here coming to the line. And we'll back it up a little bit, try to get the best angle we can. You can see the 88 there starting to slide a little bit. There's the contact between them. And here's the shot. Let's get to an angle where we can see it. And yeah, there you go. Gabe Butler going to get the win over Tom Dixon, over Charles Johnson. And man, that is tight between the 3 of them. But what a finish. And we saw, unfortunately, the contact there towards the back. So we'll take one more look at that as well here as we got to that final lap. And you already see Dean up and over. So let's back it a little further. And I think it's exactly what we said. Just that side drafting just got a little too much. And I think it's going to be a left front to a left rear. And yeah, right there you see Everett Lane just got a little off center there. I think he catches Dean Wilkinson, which then in turn catches Eric Laurie. And then wait for Jack Walls. And there goes Jack. And then Bud Steele says, "Don't mind if I do," as he slides on through there with those other guys unfortunately getting involved in it. And oh, poor Eric Laurie up and over. You see also the 08 almost getting there. And so unfortunately, unfortunately, the SpaceX truck doesn't go for a flight like Eric Laurie. That truck's going for quite the ride here, while his teammate's able to pull off the win. But man, that fight between these 3 though, out of the backstretch into 3 and 4, I mean that's a finish there, Brandon. That's a lot of fun.
Man, what? I mean, if you're those front 3 guys, I don't think you can ask for anything more. Maybe, Bud went up there to help the 88 at the end, but these guys, what a finish. I've learned in the past here, don't speak too soon, and that one was another one where it's just too close to call, and man, what a great finish there by Tom Dixon, but man, I bet he was hoping that 6 was just going to run up and just give him that good little push, but a heck of a run for the 411 as you see him coming right here to the finish line. He's going to get a little bit of the apron, and I think that slows him down a tad as you see them touch here a little bit, but he's going to grab a little bit of this apron here.
Right there, that little boost, I think, from the 6.
A little bit.
That does it, and so yeah, so I think Gabe's gonna owe him a pint there after the race because I think that was the difference maker right there. But before we get to the interviews, let's pull up those final results. As in right on cue, there's Gabe burning them down up front, as it will be Gabe by 18 thousandths of a second over Tom Dixon. Charles Johnson there in third, 28 thousandths out. And then you get Everett Lane there was able to kind of recover of those caught up in that incident. He grabs 4th. Eric Laurie, even after going up and over, still somehow grabs a gear. He finds 5th place in the 071. And then Jack Walls and Nick Wing, Carl Engel, unfortunately not as fortunate. They wind up their 6th, 7th, 8th. Bob Fitzgerald, Ryan Decker in 9th and 10th. And Dean Wilkinson, unfortunately, in 11th spot. The worst of those caught up in that last lap incident. And then Justin Davis didn't have a chance to get that lap back. He winds up in 12th. Jim Brooks there, 13th. Bud Steele, 14th. And then, unfortunately, Ambrose Knable there. Early retirement, I think. I think he stepped out early there. Winds up 5 down in 15th.
Yeah, great run by all these guys, man. What a heck of a run. And great win by Gabe. Really, really, really controlled this race start to finish, from bouncing lines to executing pit stops, and something we ain't seen all year from the 88, and finally gets his first win of the season, and maybe we can get a couple of these guys up here.
Yes, I'm looking, and I don't see the TW guys, unfortunately. I'll try to see if we can hunt them down, so we might have to go a little bit out of order here. So I'll try to find that real quick, but I guess what we'll do is, yeah, let's just go a little out of order. Hopefully we'll be able to grab all 3, but we'll start off here with, at this point I said, because we don't want to take everybody's time, so we're going to jump over to the 88. We'll kick it off with Gabe Butler. So let's drag him on over here. So we're gonna pull Gabe on in and start first, finish first, and definitely it was nothing happened in the middle. It was super easy, right? You kind of dotted your i's, crossed your t, and like, all right, we're good.
Well, I had my teammates glued to me, so as you well know, you can't do it by yourself on super speedways. I mean, sometimes you can if you get lucky, but I'm lucky in the sense that I have such good teammates, and we nailed our pit stops pretty much throughout the race. So they were able to keep me up there and did an awesome job, especially at the end there. Eric on the high side, and um, all four of us are up in the high side there, and we were able to get a run. I don't know if we would have got it or not, but unfortunately, Eric got killed again last lap. But I'm sure he'll bounce back next week and have a better result for him.
Yeah, great win by you. And Eric ended up picking up fifth still out of all that commotion. I think he still got
Yeah,
fifth.
he did.
And man, we seen it take 6 races this year. What took that 88 so long to get in gear? A little bit more Guinness tonight, or?
Now a little bit of lack of Guinness. I'm sober tonight, so I was able to hold my line a little bit better and nail my pit stops. That's what I'll tell you anyway. Whether it's true or not now is another thing.
Well, I'll say speaking of the Guinness, we were commenting there. So do you have one set aside for a certain truck there that was able to give you maybe that little teeny boost there at the end that I think it maybe propelled you all the way there? Or, I mean, take us through. I feel like that's almost like a movie script type of a finish there, where it winds up coming out of the backstretch. You see, obviously, you got all your teammates pushing, then all of a sudden they all disappear, and you've just got the three of you lined up 3 wide there, making the charge to the finish. I mean, take us through what you saw in your mirror, and then, I mean, what's the thought process there when you're watching Tom and Charles to your inside?
Yeah, I mean, I saw in my mirror what you saw on the broadcast. I mean, it's just a kind of carnage behind us, and we were 3 wide, just banging and beating. I'm just trying to really side draft like as best I can without killing us all. And next minute, this Navy Bullet comes out of nowhere and gives me a boost across the finish line. So I don't know if he'll take a Guinness, but he'd definitely take a harp.
That's true. Yeah, you might have to see what he's looking for there at the end. But say, Gabe, we talked a little bit pre-race where we were mentioning you're like, I got to start thinking about points because you didn't have a great start to the season for what you're used to, and obviously missing a race or two just with some real life stuff that I'm glad you got to do and experience. So tonight's win that jumps you up 3 spots into 9th. So at least you're now into the top 12 battle we always talk about, and this also starts accounting for that one drop week as well. So of course that's going to be one of those things where for you've already had the drop week, so it for those that are able to make all the races. So I mean, do you at this point start looking forward at the remaining races, or is it just, you know what, I just got to treat these remaining, I think it was what did we say, Brandon, it was remaining 2 races if I'm not mistaken, right, for the regular season?
Correct. Yep, correct.
Yeah, remaining 2. So I mean, how do you take these last 2 now? Is it kind of just go for it because that's what you do best, or do you kind of still eyeball where you are in the points?
Normally, I'd just kind of take it easy at this point, but I mean, 9th is to me is not safe, so I just need to keep going for it and push on through and try and gain some sort of momentum and hopefully make the playoffs and continue that on in if I get there. So, I mean, it just seems sometimes when you slack off and take it easy, unfortunately, it carries forward to the following week where you're not meaning to. So I think I'm just going to try and keep the intensity up and keep her going, as they say.
Well, it was a hell of a job. Like I said, obviously the pit strategies came in a bunch there. We saw, it felt like, I think it looked like those last 2 pit stops, whatever you guys did, that was what everybody was going to do, because there's a couple times Brad and I are watching, and if not for TW pitting the lap before, I think you, Eric, and Everett probably would have been able to break that draft and run away. But they were just able to grab on. I mean, was that something you expected? I mean, or how was those last 2 pit stop strategies? Because you knew you had to make them, but they weren't runs you had to go all the way to the absolute edge of fuel windows. I mean, how did you guys make that call at the end?
We just decided to just short pit a little bit and see if we could break them, but it's more difficult in these trucks now because these trucks are a lot faster than they used to be, so it's gotten harder to break a draft like that. And plus, the drivers are doing a much better job at pitting themselves too, so that's also a big part of it. So yeah, we just kind of took the bare minimum amount of fuel, and decided to go, and I think I got too good a damn pit stop, and Everett just slid just a hair, but we were able to bounce back. And then Justin there at the beginning, he had a minor mistake that cost him a little bit tonight too, so hopefully next week he'll bounce back also.
Alrighty, sir. Well, great win tonight. As always, good to see you back. And like I said, it was definitely a start first, finish first without any dramas or anything like that. It was just a Thursday afternoon drive. But all joking aside, great job tonight, Gabe. Like I said, you guys were able to make all the right moves at the right time, and unfortunately lost your help at the end. But again, somehow we're able to recover fourth and fifth. So still overall a pretty good team night for you guys.
Yeah, it was a really good team night for the guys, and just a big shout out to you guys up in the broadcast booth. It's going to be fun going back and watching the end of this one. And of course, Eric, Everett, and our new guy, Justin. Glad he's with us. Hopefully he'll have better luck next week. We'll coach him up like Kevin says and get him there. And all the drivers tonight, man. I mean, caution free, Daytona trucks. Can't complain. And of course, all the admins at Area 51 for doing all the behind the scenes work. Thankless job. And big shout out to Bud there at the end for giving me the boost across the line. I appreciate it, man.
Great job, Gabe. Appreciate it, sir. And good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks, fellas.
And Brandon, I'll say while we're watching there talking to Gabe, I'm not sure what happened to Ryan Decker in the last lap. He's getting some love from Dean Wilkinson. He's missing a hood. He's missing the right front fender. I think we may have missed something for him because he wasn't in that main pack. So I think there was some more racing going on to the finish there than what we caught. I'll jump back and I'll try to see if we can maybe at least get a bit of a look to see what happened. Hopefully no shenanigans, because that'll never be a good look. So let's say he and okay. Oh, okay. So this is probably a fight for. Oh, actually, you know what? I bet it is. It's probably everybody's catching up to the guys recovering, and yeah, that's exactly what it was. Everybody's just trying to get every spot they could, and unfortunately, they found Dean in the process. So that's what we saw there. So. Unfortunately, though, I don't think we're going to wind up being able to get any interviews from our second and third place finishers there. But we'll definitely give them a little bit of love, show them off here in the broadcast. And that was the number 9 there of Charles Johnson. He finished third in that number 9 Hydro Flask truck. Started in the 6th spot, grabbing that third. And then, yeah, Tom Dixon, I'm sure I say this is one of those ones, watching the momentum, you can see, I think right there's the boost. I think without that push right there at the very end, that's a Tom Dixon first win. Just unfortunately didn't quite get the little boost that he was probably hoping to get. But again, I mean, they're not going to give them to you over here at Area 51. You're going to have to earn them, and like you said, you're going to have to beat the best. And Charles Johnson, Gabe Butler, those are two of the best that have been part of this league. So it's a heartbreaker. Like I said, we're so close to that first win, but I don't know. For me, I think it's going to hurt now, but it's just going to kind of help you. Okay, what do I need to do next time? Give you that little extra drive to grab the next one.
Yeah, it's I look at this just as a win. Them points are crucial, especially on a track that went green the whole time, to be able to hang with there and even have a shot. We seen how hard it was on pit road, and also with the same thing for Charles Johnson. Bud still had a bad night. He comes up P3. That's going to add on to his points lead, and Charles Johnson, keeps on knocking out these top fives, week in, week out. He's going to be tough to beat when the playoffs come, as he builds that a big padded lead. So wins all the way around. If you ask me, truck came home in one piece, and you get good points. So I don't think anything complaining except for the 411 just going to be kicking himself that he was just one spot short.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And yeah, I'm like you said, it's another top 5. So Charles continues that top 5 streak in that number 9 truck. So all the starts he's had, his worst finish is 5th. I mean, that's some wild numbers. And then Like you mentioned, though, going back to Tom Dixon as well in the 411 truck, like you said, also he jumps up 3 spots now, tied for 6th with Ryan Decker. And again, that's just going to pull him a little further away from that 12th position cutoff spot. So also huge for him there as well in that 411. So again, you always want to get the win, but again, also got to look at that big prize at the end of the year for that championship too. So, and again, it's one of those things. I mean, just they ran a really good race today. They know how to do it. It's obvious. So if they can just put it together, continue to put it together like they did tonight, I mean, it's definitely going to be an opportunity for them to get that win for him. I'm sure that was probably one of the goals for that TW team, and I'm sure it's going to be the same for these other guys too. I mean, you talked about Gabe. Like you talked about too, Justin Davis. They're definitely wanting to get him up there kind of consistently and get him comfortable. And like I said, the more help you can get, the better. And so yeah, so it's going to continue to grow. And like I said, I mean, we saw a lot of great teamwork tonight from TW, from Bootknockers, from Roswell. Just unfortunately, some guys, pit stop was the name of the game tonight. So, but yeah, 2 to go here for the championship. We will be back next week at Atlanta Motor Speedway, that 1.5 mile oval, then finishing off the regular season at Talladega before we get to that 4 race playoff. And of course, we'll be back again here on Sunday night. Same thing, but this time with the Gen 4 Cup cars. And of course, Tuesday night, bringing the Indy cars back as well. So, Brennan, as always, appreciate all your time. It's a lot of fun doing this with you. Boomer, keep your brake lights working, engine working, turn signals optional. But yeah, and then everybody that watches, Caitlin, Jamie, appreciate you guys being part of this one tonight. And yeah, I'll say until next time, happy Friday Eve. And of course, as always, take care, stay safe, have a good night.